Onion Cycles podcast is about thought provoking, emotion evoking, action driven, step by step guidance to explore the unique, glorious, and wonderful ocean of your being. Because healing is a multi layered process of getting to know oneself. Become the self empowered empiric researcher by discovering the unique layers of your existence. With your host, Nadine Alma, welcome to the Holistic Healing Hub. Welcome to the Onion Cycles podcast.
Hello and a warm welcome back, my beloved fellow healing integrating onions. I am so excited about today's episode, but before we start, you might have already guessed it, I have a little bit of an issue with my voice, so please don't be afraid, everything is alright. I'm getting better by the day, but this is my voice now and I couldn't wait to record this episode. So I hope you're just gonna flow with it. Right. Let's dive straight in. We are at story 43, episode 45. Curate yourself. Now, the main sources for this is my own experience, as usual, as well as something from Tony Robbins that he calls Create a Compelling Future. It's a little diagram of a triangle where the sides are focus and language, and the bottom is the state, meaning physiology, sound, and movement, as well as a LinkedIn article I came across that was absolutely inspiring and that I think is very good accompanying the topic of today. And the LinkedIn article was written by Renata at maplemarketing.co.nz. So I'm gonna put both of those on the worksheet as well as in the description box. And for those of you new here, hello and a warm welcome to you too. When I talk about the worksheet, that is something you can download for free on my website www.wonderfinder.org. These worksheets contain everything we discuss in the episodes as a means for you to come back to if you want to dig deeper. But more so, it's about as I think, so I feel, so I act. So the worksheets do contain some exercises for you to make the topic we discuss more personal. And as every journey is a very intimate one and very individual one, these worksheets and the exercises on them are designed to give you more insight about yourself and to grow for yourself on your own journey, doing your own steps in your own time. Right, let's dive straight in. And what I'm gonna do first is gonna tell you the quote of this episode, which is, we don't do what we can do, we do what we believe we can do. So it's all about expanding ourselves to know that we can do everything we set our mind to. Our thoughts become our words become our behavior change into habits, and the habits become then our character, and our character eventually is our destiny, our life legacy. That is a quote. Some say it's from Lao Tse, some say it's from Gandhi. I don't know. It's a great human being who said that, and this is exactly the way we are going to approach the topic of curating yourself. We're going to start with our thoughts, because our thoughts become our words. Now, the thoughts become our words can also be seen as something, where does our focus go? These days, our focus mainly is divided between the people in our lives, the content and social media we consume, as well as the home life and the work life. The content and the social media is inexchangeably connected to the people around us in ways that they both affect our mental health and the way that we can both maintain something that is called curating what is around us. what we surround ourselves with has a great impact on how we live our daily lives. And we all know that it is not about the big decisions in our lives, it's more or less also about the very small, consistent decisions in our daily life. So, I'm going to start with the content and social media because curating yourself starts with curating your content and your social media feeds. That is what you consume on a daily basis. First up is that I personally find it absolutely disturbing that we ourselves are called users in the context of how we use the internet. We are internet users, right? So the word itself always reminds me of drug addiction. And from a personal experience, I can tell you right now that that is exactly what it feels like to me too. Even though I have curated my content already, so basically what I do is I only use Instagram and YouTube, and Instagram is where I find my inspirational content about all the self-growth, self-development mindset, about spirituality, about everything that is sort of sparking inspiration within me to create my own content. And on YouTube, I only have stuff that makes me laugh, as well as a bit of spirituality and a bit of, I call it guilty pleasure videos that I like to watch that serve the purpose of making my own videos better. So, what I did there was at first, I sort of realized that I actually can manipulate what they show to me if I look at shorts or reels, because they track to present us with tailored content, right? To keep us hooked. So they track how long I spend on a post, what I do, how I interact with that post, and if I like it, if I comment on it, and also what I search for. So whenever I feel like I need to redo the curation of my content, I look at how much time do I spend on posts and how I interact with them for a start. I also unfollowed or muted accounts and keywords that make me feel inadequate. I've heard from a friend that she did block certain keywords from her Twitter. I don't use Twitter, but I'm sure a little bit of Googling will show you how you can unfollow and mute accounts and keywords for yourself. I did unfollow a lot of Instagram accounts. I did unfollow all the accounts that made me feel inadequate, even if it wasn't their intent. I don't say that it is the intention of every person on Instagram to make you feel inadequate. But as soon as I start comparing myself to others, as soon as I start comparing myself to another human being's journey and where they are in their own book, in what chapter I think I should be in my own book right now, when it makes me feel less than I am, then that is a time to realize that I should unfollow that Instagram account, at least for the time being, until I'm stable again. I also did something that I realize only now could do some good for some people out there, and this really is no prescription. No shoe fits all. I say that all the time. You need to make your own decisions, and you need to see if that tool works for you or if it doesn't. And if it works for you, wonderful, lovely, great job. If it doesn't, then you can change and find out if there are other tools available to you that do work. But what I did for myself is, I think it was, by now it's 8 years, I got rid of my TV and I stopped watching the news, and I didn't listen to any radio anymore unless it was an app where I didn't have any news and any, well, mind numbing content that didn't contribute to any of my goals or self growth or purpose related ambitions. So I'm not saying that works for everyone, and I do have to admit that there is a lot of people out there that looked at me as though I was insane, and partly also thought that I am dumb now just because I don't know what is going on in Middle East or who is a world leader now. In my defense, I want to say that it is actually quite fun, not in a sense that the drama and the real life people affected by this drama out there in the world is any less compassion to give to them. But I feel like whenever I come into proximity of someone who is an avid news watcher or listener, I can basically guess that one of three things is happening. Either there is some sort of natural disaster, there is some sort of new war going on, or there is something in politics that is a soap opera going on in the ranks of he said that, she said that, and it's quite frankly, it doesn't contribute to my life. And a dear friend of mine asked me a couple of years ago how I am doing this because he can't get the faces of those little children out of his mind when even when he doesn't put on the TV. Like he says, he's just thinking about these people in Israel, I think was, or Afghanistan was what we were talking about. And I just said, well, to be honest, it doesn't really matter for that child. It doesn't make a difference if I am weighed down by her destiny, her faith, or whatever she's going through, right? It doesn't do her any good. On the contrary, it might even do her less good if I drop my energy as well and buy into that fear related message coming through that we are not self-empowered people who can do and affect change in the world, right? So I'm holding myself back. If I were someone who was draining my energy of all the bad things that are happening out there and that I basically, as a little fragile human being, can't do anything about them, I don't do any favor to the people affected by them if I don't listen to it but still feel called to do something about poor people or something like, oh, I want to travel there and build schools or whatever it is. My energy needs to be at a peak to even be able to realize a project of that scale, right? So I don't do myself a favor if I drop my energy down and buy into fear related news. Mind you, there is also a little bit of a conspiracy flowing in there for me as well, because I don't really know if what the news tell me is real or not, because some news channels are bought by big corporations and they get funded, so they need to tell the people out there what the corporation wants them to tell them. Then there's also some media that is funded by political interests, and quite frankly, it is so hard to dissect who is real anymore and who does something with integrity that I just can't be bothered, to be honest. And it's been now 8 years, and I'm quite happy with the dumb role that some people try to put on to me just because I say I don't listen to the news. But I'm for sure a much happier person, and I have affected a lot of lives in a much happier and more contributing, advantageous kind of way, with me not being weighed down by fear and hate and separation that I feel is propagated by news and media content. Right, that said, all of this was related to social media. Now, social media to me is interconnected with the people around us. So everything that I said in the part of the content social media does also apply to people around you. You can't unfollow or mute them, obviously, but if you feel like those people that are around you that drain you of energy and they cost you more than they give you, and they don't uplift you and they don't believe in you and you don't feel comfortable to be yourself, as hard as it might sound and as hard as it will be, cut that off. Maybe do it in smaller portions, but ultimately, when you eradicate one person that drains you and that doesn't make you feel like you're worthy anything out of your life, you make space for a person that comes into your life that then uplifts you on a deeper level. You make space, you make place, you make room for new relationships that then eventually help you and contribute you in your own self growth, self improvement journey. And should those people ask you why you even bother to improve yourself because everything is going down the drain anyway, you might as well just tell them that the basic motivator to improve oneself is that we don't have to suffer more than we have to suffer, and the more we know ourselves, and the more we know that we are self-empowered, self-empiric researchers, getting to know ourselves in order to be able to more precisely know what is going on with us, and realize that every decision and every choice we make can either be contributing to our self-growth and a happy life, or be contributing to more harm in our life, as well as we don't want others to suffer because of us and because of us being unintentional and making them responsible for our moods, for our life's choices. Lastly, I want to say that the focus also goes into our home. I did an episode called Minimalism because I think it was Jordan Peterson saying that if you want to improve your mental health, if you want to get a clearer view on your life and your life's choices and what to do next, start by cleaning your room. And I couldn't agree more. Obviously, for some of us, cleaning our rooms is just a huge and overwhelming kind of thought. But I then just start with the clutter drawer. Every one of us has a clutter drawer at home. So if you want to just start somewhere, do your table, do your bathroom, do your clutter drawer, whatever. Because in the end, what you're doing is what you see in the outside is within. So you're decluttering your mind, you're getting clearer on your intentions, you're getting clearer on what matters. And I think it was in the episode Minimalism that I stated that it is actually not about owning less, it's about being clear who you want to be, and that is then shown in your environment, in your outside, in your surroundings, right? With that said, let's go and shift from the focus thoughts become our words to the words themselves. Words become our behavior, right? Words become our actions. The topic we're talking about is language. By changing our thoughts, we change our attitudes, and that leads to changing our actions. So, our whole world can change if we just skip some words or just find new ways of making statements without some words. I'm going to get to those words in a second. I also wanted to squeeze into this topic if you feel called to do that, it if it feels like, oh, that resonates, you should check out or research etymology, because etymology is such a huge topic. I couldn't just put it in one episode itself, but it is so interesting because it puts a light onto how words are used. And more often than not, epiphanies come out of realizing that some of the words we use have been misused in order to misplace the meaning of those words. And that is all I'm gonna go and say. I hope your curiosity is sparked by that. Etymology, the study of language. But for this episode, I'm gonna ask you to do some counting, because the next three words, I want you to see how often a day you use them. And all of those three words have something in common. First of all, they're negative. They have either a judgment for ourselves, or if we utter them to others, they are a judgment on others. They evoke guilt, shame, even obligation, and most of all, they give us the feeling of powerlessness. And we know that our feelings also feed our thoughts, right? So it's very important to shift our focus and our attention onto how often we use these words and with what we would be able to replace them. The first one is I should. Well, I should bring the bin out. I should bring my wife some flowers. I should call that client. I should. Well, what that means most of the times is you don't really feel inclined to do it. It is something that is heavy on you, that weighs on you, that is something you, if you were given the choice, wouldn't do. And the first step with the I should is to realize that. The next one is to say, I decide to do it with love, or I decide to not do it at all. And if I do it, I can also delegate it, maybe. But the important thing is to get conscious about how we how often we use it, and that in order to rid yourself of the I shoulds of our lives, you need to realize that it has to do with standing up for yourself and being true to yourself, living your authenticity. Because if there is something that you should do but you don't want to do, actually you don't have to. And yes, everything in life has consequences, but if you are intentional about what you want to do and then do it with an intention behind, you're aware of the consequences that are presented to you. It is all about intention. It is all about just coming to terms with the fact that we just need to think about what we speak out loud, what we think about, but also how we use language to give our life a certain flavor, a certain tint of color, right? The next one is I can't. Again, oppression, lack of choice, powerlessness. And in doing so, in saying things, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that, maybe in thinking about I can't and a phrase that you could use instead, or how you can rephrase the whole sentence itself, they may become even positive. They may even become positive. They may even become something to work towards, something to aspire to, something to inspire you to be more, do more, or create more. I don't know how you would go about it, and I don't know if this resonates with you, but for me, as soon as I started to listen to the self talk in my head and making small adjustments over time, at some point I wasn't even embarrassed anymore if I fell down during a hike. I was just laughing away so intensely because I found it to be so hilariously funny, and I never ever could have pictured myself coming to a point where I would be able to laugh about myself, because quite frankly I felt so little and so small for all my life, so inadequate, so bad, even so naughty, so not good enough, that I come to a point in my life where I can laugh about a thing that would have made me blush and be so ashamed on myself just years ago is very freeing. And looking at your words and how you use I can't and rephrasing it every day, every time you do it, you become better at it, and more often than not, this improvement will lead to a more positive self-talk where you don't feel like you are as bad as you thought you were when you started out, right? And the last one is I have to. Yeah, we all knew that would come too. And it's the same kind of tint of color there. It's powerlessness, it's oppression, it's a lack of choice, it's obligation, it's guilt, it's shame, it's everything that's negative. We don't need that in our lives, and we can rephrase that easily with either I don't want to or I want to, right? Just as simple as possible. And if it's not that simple, why isn't it that simple? Just think about it. It's all about intention. Words become behavior, words become action. Now, what's next? Actions become habits. The habits that make up our character, the character that becomes our legacy or destiny. And we are at the third one, we are at the state of mind, which includes the physiology. So physiology is, I borrowed that term. I don't think it's coined by Tony Robbins, but he uses it a lot. So what he means with physiology is our body. We are able to influence the way we feel in our body, that then influences again our way of speech, and that influences what we do in our life, right? So as I think, so I feel, so I act. In acting on our physiology with sound and movement and doing something out of the pattern, out of the habit, we sort of disrupt what usually is played out in our brain as a program. So when you feel low and you feel like, I don't want to do work today, but in essence, you would be able to because you're rested, and in essence, it's just your old program. And if you don't know if it's your old program, or if you really need rest, you're really not capable of doing something, I would suggest just sitting up 5 minutes, maybe running around 1 minute, then sitting down 5 minutes, and going into yourself and really feeling into your gut, because your gut will tell you if you lie to yourself. It's very, very vocal about you telling yourself that you're actually not able to do something when you very well know that you would be able to do. So there's no pressure here. It's not about you have to punch yourself to do anything, right? It's just about the subtlety of the difference between when you lie to yourself and when you know you could as well do something that gets you closer to your goals, to how you want to be as a person, to what you want to accomplish in your life, right? And if you don't do something, then that is a whole nother topic about building a relationship with your coping mechanism, to say, okay, I appreciate you're here right now. You're maybe even stronger than my willpower right now, but I consciously choose you. You're not taking over. It's my choice to say, I'm going to scroll away. I'm going to eat some fast food. I'm going to eat some chocolate, or whatever it is that you do. But make sure that it is a conscious decision, and that you're consciously deciding that you give yourself to that experience right now. But if your gut tells you otherwise, and if your gut tells you, well, you're quite able to do that, actually it would be good, you feel inspired, just do it, then a simple interruption of the old pattern, of the old program, will do wonders. And how you achieve that change of state of mind is by just getting your body to be moved. I think Tony Robbins gives the hero's pose as an example. Stand up and you slouch away, and your head is down and your shoulders are down. And then suddenly you rise up as though like a cord is being stretched, and your head is being pulled up to the sky. And you're like, suddenly your hands go to your hips, and you stand there like a superhero with your legs hip width apart, right? And you feel so empowered and so capable. Well, that is physiology in action. You can improve your state of mind by just getting up and doing something different. It's a decision away of being able to do something for yourself that contributes to self growth and self worth in the end, right? And that could also not just be a hero's pose, obviously. It could be you turning on the music and just dancing like really funny randomly. Or if you are a dancer, just dance it away. You probably know what I'm talking about when I say physiology anyway. But even a walk, even something that is totally out of the norm for you, even just 3 push-ups or whatever it is that you can do right away by getting up from your sofa, from your couch, from your normal way of not accomplishing something, and just giving in to the programming that has been captivating your true essence for a while. Now, my beloveds, that is all for that episode, and I think that is quite enough, because there's a lot to do, a lot to work on, a lot to observe, I would say. I hope it was of service to you. I do truly appreciate you liking, commenting, sharing with the community, because sharing is caring. Something that you think and then write out loud may contribute to someone else not feeling alone on their journey. So sharing is caring. Comment if you feel called to do so. I would love if you'd subscribe, and I thank you very much for listening. Like I said, the worksheet is available for the free download on www.wonderfinder.org. And I say, I wish you with all my heart all that you need and a pinch of what you want. I love you, I see you, and I understand you, my beloved fellow healing integrating onions.